Just what is Farthest Frontier? Farthest Frontier is a resource management-oriented city simulator. That's a mouthful. But what separates resource management-oriented versus what people consider to be normal classic simulators like SimCity? Well, primarily in SimCity, but its other derivatives, you are put in charge of the money and how and what citizens are allowed to build where. So you can zone land, you can say, hey, this space is for commercial, this space is for industrial. You're placed in charge of budget, and you're also placed in charge of some where the public interests go, like government buildings and that type of thing. Whereas with resource management city simulators, like Caesar 3 being my pinnacle example, you're in charge of everything. If the citizens don't have shoes, that's your fault. If the citizens don't have clothes, your fault. No food, your fault. You're literally knee-deep in the city. We gotta go through the normal barrage. With graphics, these graphics are very nice. I can stare at this wintry environment for a long time. They did a good job with making the environments look good on the screen. Character models and animations are actually quite good for this game, but it's a game you're also supposed to play from hundreds of feet away, where the camera is like up here and your citizens are down here, so they don't have to be amazing, but they do have to be convincing. Adding the visuals, like the props of your resources being like put on the ground or being sit right next to a building or in the warehouse, is a great attention to detail, and also kind of gives it that Caesar 3-ish feel, because Impression Games would change the sprites up a little bit depending on how loaded the buildings were, in Caesar 3. So, good attention to detail that they also did. The water in this game is quite awesome, and making the water freeze during a hard winter is a nice touch. It all looks good. And there's great detail with the shrubbery and trees. As a matter of fact, while we're on the shrubbery and trees, I appreciate the extra little detail of letting shrubs and trees grow at the edge of farms but not in the middle, because people cut down the shrubs and trees to grow food there, so it gives the farms kind of a more European feel. And anything that feels more European is good in my book. Another good thing about these graphics is how, while they do add these data layers that you can look at directly to be like, oh, this land is more fertile, and all that, you can also tell by looking on the ground itself. More fertile ground usually has more weeds growing out of it. So, you don't have to press F, but you can. Data visualization looks great too. The music in this game was kind of It didn't really add anything to the gameplay experience, but it didn't detract from it either. When I was in 100% beast mode for this type of game, for the music, I would do this. Sound design is actually really good in this game, though. The spatial treatment and processing of the thunderclaps specifically is worth mentioning, but the rain sound effects are great too. However, I kind of felt like the wolves howled a little too much during the winter. We get it! This game, oddly enough, has a plot. It's a very simple one. Basically, you and a few of your roughneck friends get kicked out of the local medieval settlement, and you have to found a new settlement of your own. That's it. The first goal is to be self-sustaining, and then gradually build your town out to a level that makes others want to move in. You do this until your town inevitably starves itself out, or gets killed by disease or invaders. Sounds easier than it is, trust me. The gameplay is where this game shines. Now, I'm quite partial to city builders. Always have been. However, I always felt like these resource management city builders have to be done right. And does done right look like to me? Caesar 3. As far as resource management city builders go, Caesar 3 is the game that I hold in highest regard. It's like the apex, the highest metric. So does this game compare? Absolutely. There are enough different types of resources in the game to keep you thinking about how you're going to advance. And the progression isn't too short, or it isn't too long either. Looking at you, Anno 20 something or other, or Banished with the Colonial Charter mod. There's a loose progress tree to go through, and the item progression is designed in such a way that it forces you into the realm of trade. Normally with these types of games, you do fine without trade, but it makes things nicer, where like you can sell an abundance of your resource to immediately acquire a resource you're scarce in. However, Farthest Frontier kind of makes you go into trading without making it seem forced. For example, heavy tools. You gotta buy heavy tools to make more heavy tools, and that makes perfect sense in the real world. So, and these heavy tools are used to make better items further down the line. Really, that's the big one, but you can buy nicer, fancier things when you upgrade your market. Upgradable buildings are also a nice touch. And yeah, so, and speaking of the market, the way the game treats currency is interesting. Early on, you find out that people in this world want to trade with gold ingots. They're not even minting coins, they're going straight for the ingots. But anyway, later on, after you've acquired said heavy tools, you can manufacture your own gold ingots. So you're literally printing your own money, right? Yes and no. Yes, you do need gold ingots to maybe pay your military, the guardsmen, and also pay for maintenance for buildings. But you also need gold ingots to literally manufacture other resources in the game. So, early in the game, they're up here because you can't make them, but you can trade for them. But later, when you can make them, they get knocked down. But they're probably still just as important of a resource as, say, wood, the little iron ingots, just in general any other resource, food, vegetables, meat, that type of thing. I don't think I've ever seen a game treat currency this way before. But feel free to say something in the comments if it has been done. Finding the balance to make things work is particularly fun, at least to me anyway, and rewarding. And there you have it. Our dig in the crate has been completed. That's right.